What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here from Ultra Wrestling 101. Welcome back to the WCW side of the Monday Night Wars. I archive these, so anytime you want to rewatch the Monday Night Wars, they're on my channel and they're specifically laid out for you. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying these reviews. I love putting them out. This is week 94 for the WCW. Nitro beats Raw for the 57th week in a row. The scores were 3.8 for Nitro, and Raw scored a 2.9. So Nitro won by 0.9 in the ratings. Through 94 weeks now in totality, Nitro has 75 wins. Through 94 weeks, 75 wins. Pretty good. WWF only has 17, 1-7, and 2 draws. So this is the winning week of Nitro again with that 3.8 rating. In week 94, last week's show closed with Luger celebrating with the newly won WCW NWO World's title, hoisting it in the air with all the other WCW members to a miraculous ending of the 100th episode of Nitro. This is episode number 101, and that was the Road Wild Go Home show. So things have changed to WCW Road Wild 97. Hollywood Hogan recaptured the world title, so the title is back into the helm of the NWO. Shivani, welcome for Nitro 101, which is what we're reviewing here now. Shivani welcomes us to the show on August 11th, 97, live on TNT from Denver, Colorado. We first see the Giant backstage, a bunch of officers with the head of security. They give Giant a note, a restraining order, and he is unhappy, which kicks off Wild Night, says Shivani for Nitro. Buffer says, "Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble." As pyros go off and the fans cheer, the Nitro girls dance at the stage. We then see the NWO music play, which means the NWO Hall and Nash held the titles over the Steiners in controversial fashion last night. Steiners had their hands raised, but the NWO had most of the gold in WCW. Six and the Outsiders came to the ring, the original Wolfpack, as it were. They open up the telecast. He also says Macho Man vs. Hennig is tonight, and a lot of other great matches. Hall says we're going to get right to it because NWO give people what they want. Hall says we know that everyone here comes home watches for one reason, and that is the NWO. Hall says the more things change, the more they say the same. This is the very same line McMahon would use in later weeks. So it's almost like McMahon was watching Nitro and going, "That's a good line." Nash says some stuff, including "We're just too sweet." The Outsiders begin in the ring after their promo against Bobby Starr and David Moore, two jobbers. So they just kind of fool around with them. The Outsiders won after a couple short minutes. Nash pointed him with just his boot. I gave it a half a star for comedy and originality. The Steiners, after the match, cleared house and went after the Outsiders as the two teams began to brawl in the ring, as this isn't over between the two. Steiners got DiBiase back in their corner, and they'll cut a promo later in the show. They want those tag titles from the Outsiders. Mang took on Wrath, and you look at this just as an undercard match, but this one was actually really good for what it was. It was just a few minutes of a match, but it was power on power. Back in the ring, Wrath caught up on the top rope, dropped onto his top of the groin on the top turnbuckle first. Off to the top, Wrath goes for a move, but Mang countered it into a superplex off the top. Mang with striking blows in the corner that look so tough because he is a legit tough guy. Then the Tonga Death Grip gets him down for the 3 count. I gave that 2 stars since it was only a few minutes long, but it was good for what lasted. Mortis and the Barbarian came out and brawled with Wrath and Mang. Good action so far tonight. Mean Gene does interview those Steiners, as I alluded to, and DiBiase says that Nick Patrick was thrown out of the NWO, whereas DiBiase left the NWO, so they might have some ties to the NWO with last night's decision. Nick Patrick came out and says, "No, if anyone, ask Randy Anderson." DiBiase says he doesn't care, he just wants to take the Steiners to the titles. The fans cheer. Eddie Guerrero took on Chris Jericho. They mentioned how Jericho came close to winning the Cruiserweight title. Eddie Guerrero runs to the outside. Eddie hits a drop kick is there. Lion salt by Guerrero, but Guerrero by Jericho, as he lifted his knees up, countering the lion salt. Jericho countered Eddie Guerrero's moves into a German suplex. Close near fall, double underhook into a lion tamer. But Eddie got swung around, a slingshot crossbody block by Jericho to Guerrero. Jericho caught up, and Eddie Guerrero had a chance with a frog splash and got the victory, as that frog splash landed from all the way over the corner of the ring. I gave it 2.5 stars. Alex Wright danced with the Nitro girls. Mean Gene interviews him as the crowd boo, and he speaks German. Jeff Jarrett defended his U.S. title versus Dean Malenko. These two put on a nice little match for the time it got. It was well rated at a star and 3/4. Jarrett remained the champ in the end as Malenko wins by DQ after Eddie's illegal interference. Mongo then runs to the ring and helps out Malenko while working over Eddie and Double J. Mongo with the running clotheslines, those running lariats, as the fans cheered. Mean Gene interviewed Flair and Kurt Hennig together. Flair says he can be a horseman if he wants, and Hennig says it's not that he's not a horseman, but he's just concentrating on Savage tonight. And Flair says, no one hates Savage more than me. And Hennig says he will be a horseman. That's a terrible impression of Flair. Hennig says he will be a horseman, perhaps, but tonight he's in the main event and he's focusing on that. So Bischoff runs a motorcycle NWO motorcycle down to the ring with Big Scott Norton. The Giant was supposed to take on Norton, but instead Buff Bagwell sprayed 50 feet on the ground, and the Giant came out and he couldn't pass the 50 feet. So Zbyszko came down in support of the Giant, and Scott Hall threw a toothpick at Zbyszko, kicking off their feud. Well, they've been feuding all year, but making their feud a little bit more intense. Next up, the Steiner brothers versus Chris Benoit and Steve McMichael. This was a sleeper match. It was really good for what happened. Steiner came back with a gorilla press into an STF on Benoit, getting the crippler down. Rick had got a hot tag and delivered belly-to-belly suplexes overhead to McMichael. Mongo goes up for a double axe handle, but Rick drops him on his head with a belly-to-belly suplex and gets the 3. Steiners win, 2 stars and 3/4 for that match. Gene introduces the total package Lex Luger. He said he celebrated with the others last week when he became WCW champion. He feels last week was a foundation and a building block for WCW. Luger says Randy Anderson was just doing his job. Luger says Nash, Hall, Macho, and every single member of the NWO that the WCW is getting their act together and they're all in trouble. Luger takes off his shirt as the ladies scream and he tells Hogan to take a look. He's racked him 3 times and he will rack him again, meaning WCW is coming back for that belt. And he said that basically that official Randy Anderson, the fans paid good money for a winner. So if you want to get Hollywood Hogan the winner and the new world champion at Road Wild, then he's going to say Randy Anderson made the right move. So that's big of Luger. That's what you want your babyface to say. Another big babyface at DDP comes out to take on the NWO's Buff Bagwell. And Bagwell starting to make himself a name, not just Marcus Bagwell, but now he's Buff Bagwell, and he's doing well in the NWO. DDP clothesline Bagwell, who lands a nice dropkick, a swinging neck breaker, and Bagwell gets flipped up on his feet and lands to counter DDP's powerbomb attempt. Bagwell really impressive in the match. A diamond cutter out of nowhere, though, and DDP wins. And DDP beats on Buff Bagwell after the diamond cutter out of nowhere. 2 stars and 1/4. Ultimo Dragon took on Mortis for the TV title. Fisherman suplex by Mortis. He had decent moves. It was like a green cane. Ultimo Dragon with a tiger bong out of the quarter, though, and he made Mortis tap for the Dragon Sleeper. I gave it a star and 3/4. Then J.J. Dillon comes out to ask for Sting. Fans get loud at this point, and they point to the roof as Sting is walking among the bridge of the rafters. Dillon says, I have a brand new contract here, and Sting takes the zip tie down to enter through the crowd after he comes down from the zip tie. He goes into the ring, looks at the contract, says no to this one, but he points to the crowd as the crowd chant Hogan. And Sting nods his head. So this whole year-long feud between Sting and Hogan is awesome, and Sting even points it out by pointing to the fans, chanting his name. Next up, we got Kurt Hennig versus the Macho Man Randy Savage in the main event. Hennig either a horseman or a good guy, but Savage is in the NWO. 2 great friends in real life. Macho Man made a very good song when Kurt Hennig died. I don't want to say very good, but it was heartfelt at least. It's on YouTube, called My Perfect Friend. It's worth listening to. Hennig and Savage battle up the entrance aisle. The madness here, European uppercut, knife edge chops, double axe handles, all that good stuff. Kurt with another float over snapmare like he does with a big high lift knee into the face of Savage. Savage to the attack, whirls his fingers around too much, so Hennig used his body weight to get out of the ring. While he was out of the ring, Page interfered by Hennig to ring the bell as DDP came in. Savage, no love lost with DDP, hit down as Hall came down and helped Savage with DDP and Page. Not DDP and Page, with DDP and Hennig. Hennig wins by DQ after DDP's interference. They close the show with DDP and Savage on the outside, Liz raising both their hands, and they close the show with DDP and Luger and DDP, Luger, and Hennig in the ring looking at the NWO. And they go to the WCW broadcast booth and say that this show, it's only going to get crazier as the weeks go on. And isn't that true for Nitro, as things pick up a lot? I rated the show a 7 out of 10 because it had great wrestling, as I pointed out. the Sting stuff, the NWO stuff, you can't beat it at this point, and it's only going to get better here in the summer of '97. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe, and I'm out.